Hey there. Welcome to another episode of Carve Your Own Fucking Path, a podcast made to inspire you to create a life and business on your own terms. You'll hear candid interviews with people who have boldly decided to blaze their own trail, and the occasional solo show with me, your host. I'm Willa McDonough, on-camera coach, storyteller, and remote video producer. 5 years ago, I moved from my home base of San Francisco to the coast of Portugal, taking a big leap into the unknown. Some called it courageous. I called it carving my own fucking path. Today, I live in Lisbon and run a business that elevates your online presence, helping you show up confidently on camera to create videos that showcase your brand and personality so you can get more visibility and attract clients by being yourself. If you're just starting out in business or you've been doing it for a while, you're sure to pick up tidbits of actionable advice and hopefully feel inspired by stories from people who have chosen the unconventional and sometimes messy path. And if you've been waiting for a sign to start carving your own fucking path, this is it. I'm so happy you're here. If you strive to be authentic AF, online and in basically all areas of your life, but you struggle to do that, this episode is especially for you. As you know, this is something that I help people with on camera. And so does my next guest, Vasavi Kumar. She's an actress, comedian, self-expression coach. She helps people show up confidently in all areas of their life. And the way she does that is pretty unique and awesome and simple. And you can do it anytime and you can start now. So I'm really excited for you to meet her because she is a very outspoken, bold, confident, just amazing woman. Let's meet Vasavi. We are in the same line of business.
Yeah.
With helping people on camera be real, be themselves. Yeah. So welcome to Carve Your Own Fucking Path. You're a therapist turned storytelling, confidence, self-expression coach. And you've been in the media for over a decade. And you have your own podcast, which I have been binging myself because I love how you blend all of this together, your work, your life, your beliefs, your experiences, and you get intimate with your audience. And then you also have, interviews. So I could take a page out of your book and start blending it all together because that's what it's about, is keeping it real. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Willow. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm happy to be here with you.
Awesome. Well, I always like to go back to the backstory, and you can start wherever you want because sometimes, there's this maybe a pivotal moment where you decided, okay, I'm going to carve my own path, or I'm going to go in this direction. So take us back to wherever you want to. And I know, and I'm sure you're going to talk about this too, but you are a first-gen immigrant as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's great that you started off by saying I'm a first-gen immigrant because that's really how it all began, right? I grew up on Long Island, New York, Long Island, Strong Island, if you know, you know. But yeah, my parents came over from India in 1975, sorry. I was born shortly thereafter. So I have an older sister and we grew up on Long Island, which was an all white town, still pretty much is. Actually, it's gotten a little bit more diverse, of course. But when I was growing up and going to school, there were like one or two Indian kids in the school. So the split happened at a very early age for me, right? I was never too Americanized or white enough for the kids at school. I was, and I was never too Indian for my mom, right? My mom always wanted us to be more Indian. That's always, still to this day. She goes, can you just be more Indian? And I'm like, what does that mean? What does that mean? Oh, the external, right? It was always about the external. Everything, and I think this goes for any culture. It doesn't actually matter, but it's like, status matters. What you look like on the outside matters. How you present yourself matters. Yes. And I love status. I love looking nice. I love dressing well, but no one ever taught me how to feel good on the inside. No one taught me how to feel good about myself. I was just taught how to present I'm doing okay look. So I know how to present I'm doing real good, right? But my insides, that journey I have to learn on my own. But to go back to what you originally said about how I'm able to kind of integrate all these different parts, to me, it started off because I mean, we have all these parts to us. We do. I have a very Indian side. I have a very New York side. I have an angry side. I mean, if you think about it, we all have different parts inside of us. My entire life has been dedicated, whether it's been through the relationships that I've had, the career paths that I've taken, even the wardrobe that I've chosen to wear, the guys that I've dated, the books that I read. Everything that I do has always been with the, just it has been fueled by this like deep hunger. I want to know myself. I want to know myself. Maybe this will help me know myself. Maybe this will help me know myself. Right. Fortunately, there are no mistakes in life. Some of the paths that I've taken, like using drugs and alcohol, I'm almost 3 years sober. March 27th will be my 3-year soberversary. I've used many paths to really understand myself. Some of them detrimental, some of them really great, whether it's going to plant-based culinary school, becoming a social worker, becoming a licensed therapist, being a TV host, being a coach for the past 11 years, all the things has always been like everything. And I love that the name of your podcast is Carve Your Own Fucking Path, because every path that I have been on to the outside might be like, girl, you're crazy. You've been everywhere. You're just all over the place. And it's like, am I really all over the place? Or am I just a hungry individual who is so curious to learn who God made her to be? And so she's willing to take every path. I've taken almost every path, every dangerous path I could take, I've taken. Now I'm in a season of my life, I'm going to be 40 in May, where it's like, I'm trying other things. I'm trying different ways to know myself. The point that I really want to make to your audience is it never ends. Stop trying to get to some finish line. Like, oh, I know myself. I can stop working on myself. The shit is every day. It's every single day. Every moment you have an opportunity to know yourself. And so who you see me today, someone who, Willow, you could ask me anything and I will tell you the answer. I have no secrets, nothing to hide. You talked about being so intimate with my audience. I'm able to be intimate with my audience because I'm extremely intimate with myself, and I'm not afraid of myself, and I don't have shame against the person that I was and the person that I'm becoming. So I have that relationship with myself. Therefore, I'm not too concerned whether you like me or not, because I like me.
Mm-hmm. Boom.
Period. Yeah. Yeah.
Drop. Yeah.
Yeah. Podcast over. We can be done with the interview. That's it. Basically, go on, go live your life now.
Yeah. Message clear and taken, because you do talk about that. It all starts with knowing who you are. And as business owners and entrepreneurs, and I mean, anyone, it has to start there. So I'm curious, in your case, so it sounds like this early identification, because you come from a strong culture. I don't identify with much, as a white American, but so I could understand that was like a kind of duality in a way, where you're trying to blend and then, So
that's a great word to use, duality. It's interesting. And I want to share this as a way for your audience to really look inwards and ask themselves whatever they're going through right now, realizing that it's like your soul chose this in a way. So hear me out. I'm saying this because you use the word duality. In the Hindu religion, we talk a lot about duality, and the way that you become one with yourself is to realize that you are God and God is you. There is no separation. In Sanskrit, we have a phrase that says Tattvamasi. Tattvamasi means I am that. There is no, oh, God is out there, I am here, the creator is out there, and I'm just a creation. No, creator and creation are one and the same. So it's funny that you use duality, because I was raised in a religion, in a way of life that taught oneness. It's called Advaita. Duality is Dvaita. It means that us and the creator are two separate entities, and we are not two separate entities. We are living embodiments of the creator. We can create anything we have the power to create family. Look at that. As women, we have the power to create life. How much more godly can you be? Right. So that, and then what's really interesting, when I was 19, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which is, it is duality. That's what bipolar disorder is. It's two poles, right? And scientifically, in the medical system, it's, mania and depression. But when I first got diagnosed 20 years ago, thank God I have this background of my Hindu religion and my faith to always kind of, I have a very solid foundation upon which I was raised, and how I think about oneness and God. And I always look at everything as like, what is the bigger picture in all of this? So I remember when I first got diagnosed with bipolar disorder, I ran to the Barnes and Noble days later. And I found a book called The Tao of Bipolar. And I read it. I was sitting on the floor reading it. And I saw the most beautiful definition of bipolar disorder, which gave me a lot of peace and focus for the next 10, 20 years of my life up until now. Is they said bipolar disorder is just the conflict between your higher self and your ego. That's it. It's these two poles. It's like, oh, I know that this is what's true for me. No, but don't do that, because what will everyone else think? That's that mania and depression. When you're feeling good, you're on top of the world, you feel one with yourself. If you don't know how to manage that, yes, that can offset into mania. And then when we're not being one with ourselves, that's when we fall into depression. No freaking wonder we feel crazy, because we're constantly battling back and forth. So when I was 19 and I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, I went on a cocktail of meds. I gained 45 pounds. I did all the things the doctor said, but I also made it my mission to learn how to think, which I think is fine, which I find very funny because people pay me because of the way I think. It just goes to show y'all the things that you think are your biggest curse is actually your greatest blessing. I think it's funny that people pay me because of the way I think, when I was told 20 years ago, you have a mental illness, which basically is telling me you have a broken mind. It's like, no, I don't. So I learned how to think because I was told that my mind was basically broken and ill. So it's just interesting that you talk about duality, because that has been my biggest obstacle for me to overcome is duality, and to come back home finally one with myself. So,
wow. Thank you for sharing that. Is that something you speak about a bit, about this diagnosis? And
I speak about it all because there's somebody out there that could benefit from hearing it. I'm not the only one who's ever been diagnosed with any sort of mental illness. I have to talk about it. My life was given to me to share. It's not just for me. I didn't go through all this shit just to keep it to myself. I went through it. If we look at ourselves as messengers, as vehicles to help another human being, there's really no hesitation in sharing what you're going through. If you know that your life, you've been put here to help other people, period, there's no question, then anything that you go through in your life is worthy of sharing, because it might help somebody else. Now, let me make it very clear. I do not share every aspect of my life with people. I do not. I keep things. There are some things that just are sacred and just with me, but I also have no problem sharing it either. It's just timing, right? Not everything needs to be shared in the moment as it's happening. Everything, and as an actor and as a comedian, I know this, everything boils down to delivery and timing. So there is no need when clients come to me and they're like, I'm going through this really vulnerable thing. Do you think I should share it? I go, well, picture yourself sharing it right now. How would you feel? They're like, well, I guess I'd be nervous. Like, are people going to respond? Are they going to like my post? I go, don't do it, because you're already hungry for validation. Please do not share your shit with the world, hoping that they will validate you. If you're going to share it because you fundamentally believe it's going to help someone, and don't just sit there waiting for the likes and follows, because that's a surefire way to have a vulnerability hangover, and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've not heard of the vulnerability hangover, but you do also speak about, or I'm curious to get your take as well. What is too much? When is it too much? And also it's like, if you're using your audience as your therapy, putting things out there that you're not necessarily over or healed from or something, I think that could be a dangerous situation. So let's go back a little bit to so this happened at 19. I'm just curious, like what happened next? Was this something that you talked about it then?
What happened next was a series of shitstorms. No, I mean, listen, I've had a hard life. I don't usually allow myself to say that. I really don't like saying that. But as I reflect and have more compassion for the first 39 years of my life, I'm like, girl, you've taken a beating. I have. So I had a hard life. It comes off when I say it. I'm like, oh, Vas, you are the person, you are like the most self-sufficient. You don't need anyone. Don't ever say you had a hard life. But I have compassion for the things that I have gone through in my life. I've been through a lot. I've betrayed myself. I've abandoned myself. I have a lot of compassion for how hard I've made my own life. I made my life hard by thinking that, by believing that I was difficult to love. And so it's funny the things that we do when we believe our own stories, that we're difficult to love or that we're too much. So after 19, what did I do? Oh, because I grew up in a house where education was highly valued, I went on to get I got obviously graduated from college. I got one master's in special ed, then special education. Then I went to India. I was on my path. I was still always kind of seeking, is this it? Is this it? So then I lived in India for a year. This was in my 20s. I came back, got another master's in social work at Columbia University. I had been in therapy since I was 12. So I really knew the value of therapy. But I also, after I graduated from Columbia, the coaching industry had just become very popular. This was 2010. The economy was crap. People were leaving. People needed ways to make extra money. And I remember reading this article in the New York Times about the coaching industry. And I was 28 at the time, and I just graduated from Columbia. And I was like, oh, I like this. I like therapy and I like coaching. You can blend both, right? So I just set out, for the past 11 years. I mean, I've always done some hybrid of therapy / coaching. But the number one thing that I had to get in order was my own personal life. I was married. I got divorced, fell into pretty bad rebound relationship, lasted way too long in that rebound relationship. And then because of the relationship that I was in and just the company that I was keeping after I got divorced, I got hooked on cocaine. And I was running a 6-figure business. And, on the weekends, it started off on the weekends, started partying, and then got hooked on that. I have addiction in my family on my dad's side, not my parents, but on my dad's side. And I got hooked. I mean, it's one hell of a drug. So I, went from 1 day a week to 2 days a week to 5 days a week, and eventually had to go into rehab, got sober. This was in my mid 30s. Mostly my entire 30s was when I had to really look at myself. That's when I started realizing my codependency issues, how much of my validation was put in the hands of these lessons after I got divorced. I went to rehab, like I said, got sober, got back on television. Go ahead.
Just curious about with the cocaine, because feeding into each other, you have this 6-figure business and you're on TV, right? So that seems like it would go together pretty well.
No, not really, because it affected my performance actually on camera, which is why I'm so adamant about my philosophy when it comes to being more confident on camera and in real life, just even right here on the Zoom conversation or in person. I was living a double life, right? So everyone on set thought I was sober, but on the weekends during my TV hosting jobs, on the weekends, I'd go out, I'd get drunk, I'd get messed up, and then I'd come back to work on Monday. And living in that duality, to use your word again, pretending to be this sober TV host and, I don't drink, I don't do that, living this double life, but then going home, it affected my performance on camera. My mind couldn't keep up with my mouth, and my body was always in a state of anxiety because I was living a lie. That was the lie that I was living. It was that I'm sober, but I'm not. Long story short, I got let go from that job 6 months later, which is unbelievable to me. It was unbelievable to me at the time because I was like, what? I don't understand. And now obviously looking back, it's like, Vas, I talk to myself out loud in third person. It's like my performance, who I was on stage, who I was on live television you could see was definitely not someone who was truly confident because I was hiding secrets. So what I like to tell my clients when I work with them now is clean up your life behind when the cameras aren't rolling. Like, it's not enough to just be like, hi, we're on. Like, no, guess what? What if you lived a life where you didn't have to just be on and fake it? And what if you actually were happy? What if you actually did have a smile on your face? Or what if you had the tools and the coping mechanisms to, off camera, behind closed doors, you regulate your emotions. You have those boundaries. You take the advice that you're giving everybody else. See, that's the problem, is that we're giving advice to people that we're not taking. So I take people on a journey, like, let's look at your insides. Your content's good. Your feed is fine. Everyone's like, what should I be posting on my social? That doesn't matter. Can we please have a clear sense of self first? It doesn't matter. Like, you're focusing on the wrong thing. And that is why I love talking about this. Like, so I appreciate you, probing and asking that question, because that is how you show up with more confidence. Confidence is not a feeling. It is a skill that you build, and it's a skill that you build when nobody's watching.
Yes,
yeah,
definitely. This world, and especially being on camera and in this social media life that we live, it is so much living many lives, I feel. And it also becomes very curated and everything else. So confidence is a big one that is sold to us. This is going to make you more confident. So walk me through like your process from going, I'm living this double life, doing, drugs, and I'm saying I'm not. And yeah, just curious how that, process was like.
Yeah. So I got sober again for the second time, March 26th. It's 26 or 27. See, I don't keep the dates anymore. That's a good thing. That's a good sign for me, actually. Because when I was first getting sober every single day, I'm like, oh my God, I'm sober another day, but I'm grateful. Yeah. I got sober. Yeah. March 26, 2019. So when I went back into rehab the second time, it was completely my choice. First time I went, I ran out of money. My business was not, I burned through a lot of my money. Cocaine's an expensive habit, and I was taking care of a deadbeat boyfriend. So when I went back to rehab, the first time, my parents, I basically had to. My sister came, she swooped me up from Austin, Texas. We went back to the East Coast, did all that. Second time I went to rehab, it was completely my choice. I said I was done with the chaos. I walked into rehab and I said to my counselor, Carl, tell me what I have to do so I never have to come back here again. Everyone knew my name there. It was my second time back. And I said, God did not put me on earth to be known as some fucking drug addict. That's not how my life is going to end. That is not what I'm going to be known for. I have a lot of compassion for people who struggle with addiction. I've been there, but I wanted more for myself. I was not going to be like, hey, boss, welcome back to rehab. That's not what I'm going to be known for. So I said to my counselor, Carl, what do I have to do to never come back here again? And he said, shut the fuck up, stop acting like you know everything and just listen. And that's what I did. I just I stopped acting like I knew everything. I clearly didn't know what the hell I was doing because I ended up in rehab. What I want your audience to hear is hopefully you'll never have to go to rehab, but we all need to go to rehab in our own shape and form, in our own way. We all need to go through some sort of recovery process. I was recovering from life. It wasn't just drugs and alcohol. I was recovering from years of codependency, years of toxic thinking, years of beliefs that had shaped me and brought me to where I was today. So I humbled myself. I stopped acting like I knew everything. My mom had to take care of me financially. I didn't have any clients. I just focused on getting sober. And that's what I did. I learned every single day how to love myself. What does Vasavi want? How does she like to wake up in the morning? How does she like to move her body? How does she need to be loved when she's scared, right? When she's feeling like a loser because she's not bringing in any money and her mom's paying her bills and sending her Google Pay payments, she feels like a worthless piece of nothing. How are we going to talk to her in those moments? So I learned how to talk to myself, and I talk to myself out loud. I say it out loud. I have a book coming out spring of 2023, published through New World Library. Will be coming out spring of 2023. It's called Say It Out Loud. That saved my life. Saying it out loud and talking to myself out loud and talking to myself in front of the mirror every single day for the past 3 years has brought me to where I am today, which is, you cannot tell me who I am, and you do not have the power to penetrate me because I know who I am. And that takes consistency, and that takes looking at your ugly, all the parts of yourself, and embracing your ugly. And that doesn't mean that you let yourself get off the hook and like, oh, it's okay, I accept this part of myself. No, there's nothing wrong with saying, I don't like this part of myself. I'm going to change it. That's the thing. That's what I really want people to hear, because I think there's a lot of embrace all the parts of yourself. That's great. And if you don't like something, change it, right? Self-love for me isn't, I hate this habit that I have, but I'm just going to accept it. No, I don't want this. I want better for myself. I'm going to change it. So you got to be honest with yourself. And honesty, I think a lot of times we want honesty to be packaged up with a pretty bow, but the greatest lessons in life are wrapped in sandpaper. Who I am today is not because like things have been fine and dandy. Who I am today, which is someone that is unfuckwithable, is because of what I've been through, right? And so whatever you've been through, and you don't have to have this rock bottom story like I did. We all go through our own struggles in our life. You don't have to minimize. I know a lot of my white clients often feel guilty for even saying that they're struggling because they're like, I'm white. Who am I to struggle? We're human beings. Do not dismiss your struggles, right? Don't say like, oh, because I'm not brown or I don't have these issues. Who am I? No, why would you say that to yourself? What is it that you're going through? Let's take what you're going through. What are the lessons that you've learned? Because when you do that, when you dismiss your struggle or whatever you're going through, you're invalidating this part of you that maybe needs your attention. Right. So that's what I really want because I get this a lot, Willow, when I get on podcasts, and people always hear me and then they DM me and they're like, I'm really sorry what you've been through. I want to be a confident communicator like you. I want to be on interviews like this and I want to speak, but I don't have a struggle. And it's like, okay, you don't need to have a struggle to be able to be of service. There are plenty of things in your life that you can observe and reflect and lessons that you've learned that you can share to your audience, right? It's just, I really want to say that because I share these stories and there's a lot of shock value. I understand that it's highly entertaining, but this is all my life. This is also my life we're talking about, you know?
Yeah.
So I want to make that very clear. Don't compare my chapter 11 to your chapter 2. You know, you may be going through something and being like, oh, I haven't been through anything like that. Well, maybe you will. Don't compare what I've been through to where you're at right now. You know?
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing about, sharing is we all have something. And I hear this too. Friends and people say, well, I can't relate to like that extreme, this thing that happened. But then, it invalidates ourselves. And we do need external validation.
We do. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to say you don't need anyone's validation. There was a point in my life where I was extremely cynical and jaded because of all the breakups. And I was like, can I just not get any love in my life? I became very cynical. I became very jaded. I'm finally out of that. I'm actually sharing more publicly that I want to have a family. I've never thought about having my own family. And I'm like, wait a minute. If I can create a business, I can create my own family, right? I just like, I can create my own family. So I've been thinking about having a family. So, turning 40 will do that to you. I forgot what I was just saying. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm right there with you. Okay. I'm a little bit older than you, but feels like, that's also a whole nother podcast, but I think as women and I don't have children either. So like, okay, but got to make that decision. So now I forgot what I was going to say, but it was, damn, I totally lost it. I have so many questions, but I mean, really
start with anything. Yeah. What's the most pressing question?
Well, I was going to say ask about the comedy, because comedians generally have had a hard life. And a lot of the time there was a documentary I just saw about that, female comedians. And so I'm curious about your comedy. Did you do stand up? Were you like, what kind of stuff were you doing?
I set a goal last year to do my first comedy showcase. In 2016, I had signed up for a 6-week comedy workshop. I couldn't complete it though, because I was using too much cocaine. So I decided, that was a goal that I had that, I'm grateful to God that I'm sober. I wanted to go, I started playing tennis again. I do all these things that I couldn't keep up with because of my addiction. So I signed up for a 6-week comedy class. It was like October, November, and a little bit into December. And I performed my first 5-minute, my tight 5 comedy showcase, December 13th. And my life has definitely informed my comedy set. I talked about how we were hit as children growing up and how growing up in an immigrant family, right? My mom is the scariest woman that I know. She still is. I still lie to her to this day. I openly admit I still lie to my mom. She just can't handle some shit. And it's called self-preservation. And I preserve my, so, everything with my mother is on a need to know basis. I made that a part of my set. I talked about the first time she caught me masturbating when I was 7 years old and what she said. And, I coined the term, the tight slap, which if y'all don't know, because, white people don't slap their kids. They spank their kids. We get slapped. We get big, it's not like this hippy dippy, like, oh, I'm just going to slap, like we got slapped, chased around the house, hit, put into a corner, beat the shit out of when we were kids. But I made a joke of it. That's what I do. I turn my pain into something. I alchemize it. How can I channel this energy, this grief, this sadness, this anger? How can I channel this and create something from it? So that's what I did. I don't condone that my mom hit me. I'm making light of it. I'm not making light of it. Like, I think it's wrong. It's wrong to hit your kids. I do. That is my stance on it. I think if you don't know how to use your words and you need to use your hands, you shouldn't be having children. That's what I think. I don't think it's funny that she hit me at the time, but there comes a time where you have a lot of excess energy. And this is what I've learned works for me. When I have a lot of excess energy excess emotion. It's like when I'm feeling rage, when I'm feeling extreme grief, when I'm, just like I have all this immense joy. It's like, I want to channel it, right? I want to channel it and I want to use that. I want to use that energy and to create something. So I channeled it into my comedy. So when I write comedy, I talk about things like, my dating and how I don't know how to talk to men. And it's just like, I just laugh at myself. I just laugh. And for any of you who might be thinking that's spiritual bypassing, it's not. I've been in therapy for 20 something years. I've done enough of sitting in my shit and my grief and being with it. So it's time for me to start laughing at my shit. And it's funny to me.
Yeah. Okay. So the comedy's new-ish, like
Comedy's new, yeah.
3 years. And what do you see for yourself in that way? Do you do any? Yeah.
So this is actually a great question because I set out this year is going to be the year, like I'm deep in my acting. I'm in a 9-week film acting class. I'm doing voiceover. So I have a voiceover agent. I have a talent agent as well, acting agent, commercial agent. So I'm really spending my time this year doing that. I'm also still working with clients. I do 3-hour communication strategy sessions where we work on your platform, your positioning, all that stuff, your audience. So I'm still being able to help people in that way, which I'm grateful for because a lot of, you always say starving actor, starving artist. I'm not starving, right? Because I'm able to fund my dream basically by still coaching people and still helping them, combining all that. But where comedy is, here's what's interesting. I realized like 2 months ago, I set out, I was like, for my 40th birthday, I want to perform my one-woman comedy show. I want to write a one-woman comedy show. I want your audience to really hear this about like trusting their intuition and trusting their gut responses. So I was writing this one-woman comedy show and I was working with my comedy coach. We were on Zoom and she was having me read out my show. And she goes, Vas, I need you to be more animated. I need you to, you're performing the script. You got to break down the script. You got to perform it. And I was like, this is fucking exhausted. I'm exhausted doing this. Right. So I told my comedy coach, Nikki, I'm like, give me like a few days. I got to process something. And I sat with myself and I said, okay, Vas, you got your comedy. I said this out loud. I had a conversation with myself. I highly recommend everyone talk to themselves out loud. Athletes do it. It's very good for performance. But I will say, I just had this conversation out loud. And I was like, all right, boss, you got your acting, you got your comedy, you got your voiceover. What do you want? And what I realized was comedy for me, I set out the goal. I set out to do my showcase and I did it. But I realized comedy for me, humor has always been an armor for me since I was a kid. The way I used to cut tension in the house, I grew up in a pretty chaotic, fighting household. Usually my mom screaming at my dad all the time. It was very chaotic. I used humor to deal with my emotions. I used humor to control the environment. So as I was writing this comedy show and like having to perform, I felt like I was back to being 3 years old, in like second or third grade again, where I was just like wanting to make everyone happy. But basically what I'm saying, can y'all fucking adults grow up so I could just be a kid so I don't have to work so hard to make y'all behave? Y'all are adults, right? Like that's basically what I was saying. Like, all right, well, y'all don't know how to behave. So Vasavi has to be the clown. And I just had that moment. I go, I don't want to do comedy anymore. I'm going to focus on my acting because I love how inward it makes me. I love that I get to go inwards. It's a perfect blend of self-reflection and self-expression for me. I love voiceover work because I love my voice. Hello. And I can do anything with it. So yeah, there is no comedy. I'm still funny. I'm still funny as shit. I just don't want to get on stage and, I don't want my success to be so binary. Like, oh, whether you laugh at my stuff or not, I'm only successful if you laugh. No, there are other ways to be like that. I can get an emotion out of somebody. It doesn't always have to be in that way. So I set that aside. I said, Vasavi, you set out your goal to do your showcase. You did it. Great. I love acting. I love how inward I can get with my character. I love how much more compassionate it's making me towards parts of myself that I haven't embraced. I have a character that I'm playing. She's 9 months clean. This is from the movie Kim Getting Married. It's played by Anne Hathaway, my character. I had very little compassion for her because my character in the beginning, the scene is she's at an AA meeting and she admits that because she was on Percocet, she drove off the bridge and she killed her little brother. When I initially got the script, I was like, God damn, like regret, right? Regret is the emotion. Regret is the feeling. And there was a part of me that was very blocked off from feeling that regret, me, Vasavi, which was very hard for me to then embody my character played by Anne Hathaway. My point is that it's just been such a beautiful journey to look at all the different layers within myself. And it's fun to play another character. So that's where I'm at with all my creative pursuits.
Okay. That's such a cool way of explaining acting in a different way, because
Yes.
I have an acting background as well. And I never looked at it as being an inward process. It's always a bit of like separation from who you are. So
I see it as my, like, if I overlap my life with my character so I can evoke actual emotion. So I have to look inwards. So, okay, I may not have killed my little brother. I don't have a little brother, but where in my life have I experienced extreme regret? That's where I had a block, and my acting coach helped me see where in my life I was really blocked off to my own shame that I felt around regret. And that is why I had no compassion for my character. And I was just saying the script like it was a script. And she goes, Vasavi, you're glossing over your emotions. Vasavi is glossing over her emotions, which when I'm then playing my character is basically dead on the inside because I'm on dead on the inside when it comes to this, right? So it's brought me alive. I'm alive. The feelings that I used to run from, which is regret and shame, two of my biggest, I don't like feeling regret. I say that on every podcast interview. I say, I don't want to die with regret. Well, I've been denying my own regret in the process because I don't want to feel regret. I deny some of the regret that I've had, and that's impacting my acting. So I see it as a beautiful process to go inwards.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So your goal is to be movies, TV, film. I mean, anything.
Yeah. We need more. I've been in a few commercials. I was in a Chili's a restaurant India commercial, which should be actually coming out in India soon.
Oh, wow.
Wow. I forgot about that. Yeah. I got to ask my agent when that comes out, but yeah, I've been doing a lot of cool stuff, but I do a lot of non-speaking stuff. Mm-hmm. I get hired for my facial expressions and I'm just so good looking. What can I say?
Right. But you got to use it.
But I've been wanting to do I've been wanting to do a lot of film acting because I want to start like being a character, right? So that's my focus in this next year. I'm so excited.
So exciting. And things are opening up now. So that's good.
Yeah.
Timing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And okay, so your podcast is Say It Out Loud. So now I know what that means.
Yeah.
For you. Yeah. Say it out loud. I've never heard that athletes speak to themselves out loud.
Yeah. Andre Agassi, actually, who's the tennis player, the tennis player, wrote the memoir, and he talked about how talking out loud is one of the tools that he uses. Vygotsky in child psychology talks about inner speech. We all have inner speech. When you see little kids, when they're trying to walk themselves through a task, they actually they mumble to themselves. They mumble. They're like, okay, first I got to do this. Then that's a child walking themselves. It's helping their cognitive functioning. As adults, but as we get older, the adults in our life silence us. So that inner speech now becomes inward, but it's still there. It's still there inside of you. I'm just saying, bring it out. You can solve any issue in your life when you talk out loud to yourself and you dialogue with the different parts inside of you. Some people say different personalities, sub-personalities, voices. We all have different parts. You know, when I'm upset with my mother, let's just say, right? I have conversations with myself. I have like an 8-year-old inside of me that's angry at her mother, but there's a 39-year-old wise Vasavi who can now reparent her 8-year-old and say, listen, don't be mad at mom. She does not know any better. I'm here for you. What do you need from me? 8-year-old Vasavi is not going to get emotionally what she needs from her mother. First of all, she's not 8. Second of all, her mother never gave it to her. 39-year-old Vasavi's job is to give it to her 8-year-old, right? So even when I have conversations with my mom now, she doesn't trigger me as much. I sometimes still get annoyed. I'm human, but I don't seek anything from my mother like the way I used to at all. I just see her for who she is. She is who she is. She's been through her own stuff. I'm not going to make her responsible for validating me as an adult. As a child, it kind of sucks, but I'm here. I'm here to give that to myself. That's taken me a while to get to, that I have what it takes. I am it. For me, right? If everyone in my life were to go tomorrow, I'd be okay because I have me. And I think that's a very powerful and liberating place to get to.
I think that is the definition of liberation.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, that is. Yeah, I mean, but I had to be honest with myself and be like, yes, I would be okay, but I still want a man. I still want a man in my life. I want a man in my life. Maybe I could even have one kid. Maybe it could just be me, my husband, and my kid. And I've been giving myself permission to actually think about, could I be a mom? Because I would love doing that. And I remember I would love, and my mother said to me yesterday, she goes, do you know how much sacrifice You're going to have to, when you have a kid, I said, it can't be any more sacrifice with all the men that I've dated. And it's probably going to feel like this will be one sacrifice that I don't mind making. Do you know what I mean? But I said to my mother, here's the biggest difference between you and me. I'm very selfish and I put myself first, and I will put myself first even before my child. And what I mean by that is I will always make sure that I am taken care of emotionally. I will make sure, like, I will come before my child. Now, I know obviously moms would say your children come first. I don't think in that way. I think I have to come first because there is no happy mom. There is no sound, grounded, stable mother if I do not put myself first. So I said to my mom, I jokingly said, I'm selfish. I'll always put myself first. I'll be fine. It's funny. Yeah. People's opinions when they tell you after like 40, you want to have a kid. And I'm like, I don't want to hear it. Please stop.
Okay. So you get all it's the best thing ever, or don't. Yeah, I hear it too. Everyone. But I do love the honesty as well. When people, especially girlfriends, just say, if it's not 110% yes, you just don't even go there. And part of it is because we've had so much time to be selfish. And I don't look at selfishness as a negative, the way you explained it.
That's my superpower is my superpower. I say to my friends, like, when you're with me, you're with me. I am present with you. I don't say yes to anyone unless I know I can give you my full attention. That's self-care for me. I don't want to fragment myself. You know what that's like when your girlfriend's talking to you, you got other stuff to do, but you still feel like you got to be on the phone. And I'll say to my girlfriend, I got to go. I'm like, I'm not here. I'll call you back. And they just get it. Like, anyone who takes care of themselves will get it. Right. The people who get offended in your life is because they don't know what it's like to take care of themselves. So, if anyone's out there struggling with boundaries, just remember, if you try to set boundaries and people get pissed off, it's not you. It's because they literally don't know what boundaries are in their own life. So they think you're rejecting them, and you're really not. You're self-preserving. Yeah, that's a bit huge. Yeah. Boundaries, saying no. I'm just learning about people pleasing as well. And that's a trauma response. But oh my God, it shows up in the smallest ways. Yeah. I noticed even in my emails. I'm okay. If sometimes I'll write a sentence, and I'm very direct, Willow. I think you can tell. I can tell. I can tell. Okay. But in emails, I make sure that I put a little smiley face, or I put an exclamation point, because I don't want the other person to think I'm just being cold with them. And I've been going back, and I have an email exchange going on right now with someone who owes me some money for a speaking event. It's fine. It's all going to work out. But she's very much like just a period. There are no emojis in that email. And I noticed, I'm like, that's fine. She's just direct. It's fine. I'm like, you know what? I don't need to put smiley faces anymore unless I feel like it. So even that's what I want I'm glad that we're talking about this, because I want your audience to hear. It's very easy to hear the host, hear the guest, and be like, oh, they have all their shit figured out. It's like, no, I literally just put a smiley face in my email 30 minutes ago because I didn't want the person to think I was being bitchy. Like, no, you still deal with it. And it's just noticing it. It's just noticing and be like, oh, I noticed that I did that. I'm not going to do that anymore. That's it. Yeah. I'm doing it. It's a very small example, but says a lot about the culture about, again, being female, I think, as well. And a girlfriend had said that same thing. She said, I don't do any emojis anymore. I'm just direct. I don't need to, sugarcoat or fluff anything up. And she's in a very male dominated industry and often feels unheard, unseen. And so I thought that was like an interesting. No, thank you for sharing that, because it just snapped something in me. I was just like, I don't ever have to put in another LOL, unless I want to with my girlfriends, right? Like, of course. But I noticed, like, in work situations, especially with other women, I always want women to feel loved by me. I want women to feel loved. I want them to feel like I'm talking, like we're on the same level. Like, I don't care. No one's beneath me. I'm not above you. We're on the same. I'm talking to you like smart woman to smart woman. But I notice myself doing that. And I'm like, you don't need to be less direct with somebody because you're afraid they can't handle it. They can handle it. They'll be fine. So that's something for me, like that's a little bit of the codependency. Are they going to be okay? Let me try to manage their emotions with the smiley face emoji. No, let's stop doing that. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah. No more emojis. No more emojis. No more exclamation points. Just no more sorry. No more sorry. Or I just wanted to tell you this. No, just fucking tell me what you wanted to tell me. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, we can all learn from that. Definitely. And okay, so I talk about this as well a lot about masks and the mask that we put on in different scenarios.
Yeah.
And this whole buzzword with authenticity and be your authentic self. I'm curious how like your process again, and similar to the confidence, like really coming into yourself and like just owning who you are.
So the process that I use when I work with my clients, everything is verbal. We don't text. All my clients know we have our phone calls. They Voxer me. They use a walkie-talkie app or they send me voice notes. I listen to the vibration of people's words. I listen to the energy behind people's words, right? So my clients know they can't really hide from me because we are going to be face to face. We are going to be talking. I'm listening three different layers. I'm listening to initially what you first tell me. Then what's the sub? Mm-hmm. What's even underneath that? What is the energy behind it? Who are you? What are you saying? Who are you being? What do you want? And where's the discrepancy? That's what I am great at. I can look at everything that someone is saying and being like, you're not being authentic. You're not being authentic. You're not being authentic, because I can feel you in it. And if I don't feel, and as someone who has worked very hard on being in alignment, I can smell, I can feel inauthenticity because I am true to myself. So authenticity can smell inauthenticity, right? but have you ever been in a toxic relationship where both of y'all are just both being inauthentic and you're like, I wonder why this friendship isn't working? Both of y'all are being inauthentic, right? Like both of you are maybe being inauthentic, maybe. But my process is very simple, Willow. It's like we talk, we get on the phone, we look at what you want, what's your vision? What is it that you want to be saying? Who is it that you want to be? Like, it always starts with like a clear vision. Where are you going? Right. And then so from there, we can start at where you are today and really look at, okay, what are the connections that need to be made? How are we growing your business behind closed doors? What are the personal things that you're going through? Because if you're out of integrity in your personal life, it's going to show up in your business, period. Right. How many of us are still offering things in our business that we're no longer in alignment with? Right. Like I just spent the past 4 months kind of burning everything down in my business because it's like, nope, this is not in alignment. Nope, this price point isn't in alignment. Nope, this is not how I want to work with people. It felt so good to do that. And now you just get to reinvent yourself, right? But when I work with clients, it's always through just saying it out loud. I mean, people come to me, they're like, okay, what's the exact process? I'm like, start talking and I'll let you know. I need to hear you talk. I need to know how about anything. Tell me about your mother. Tell me about your childhood. Tell me about your business. All I have to do is listen to you talk. Tell me about something you've been wanting to talk about, but you haven't. Let's talk about why, right? And just conversation, and that's it. And then the people that I work with, they're hungry. I have this one client. He's probably what I would call my ideal client, which I think we all need to have some sort of avatar of how you feel when you work with that. I have a client named Jason. He's an MBA student at Stanford. We've known each other for years, but he's been working with me for 8 months now. I mean, the hunger in which he comes on our calls and he's like, all right, boss, we have an hour. These are the 3 things I want to focus on. Let's go. And I'm like, oh my God, why can't everyone be like you? Have you ever worked with someone, Willow? They get on, they're like, and you're like, what do you want to talk about today? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, nope, this is your fucking life. You paid for these phone calls. Do not expect me to do your life. You come on here. This is what I want to work on. These are the things that are burdening me right now. I want to walk away with this. Great. Thank you for helping me do my job. This is a co-creation. And that's what I think I really want everyone to hear, is that no one is coming to save you, right? So you have to have that hunger for your own life. And when you start to come from that place, like, man, I want more. You start putting that out into the world. You start looking at the world through those eyes. The people who can help you will help you. You will start to find those people that will come and help you. The amount of love and support I have received in the past 2 years, 3 years in my recovery, especially, has been people who just want to help me, just because like I just go into this world with this vibe of like, I'm here to serve. Mm-hmm. I'm here to serve. I want to help you. I've been through some shit. Let me help you. People just come out of the woodworks, right? So you got to be open to receiving help. You got to admit that maybe you don't know what the hell you're doing right now and you need some help. You have to put aside your pride, right? And you have to put aside your pride and be like, you know what? I really suck at this. I could use some help. If you can say that to yourself, man, you're golden. I suck at this. Someone help me. I suck. And I say that to myself, and it's like, it's just that's how I talk to myself. Like, oh, I suck at this. I need some help, right? Like, it's okay to suck at something. Mm-hmm. It is okay to suck at something. When I did my first script in acting class, it was awful. It was awful. Why can't we be awful at something?
I know. We're so afraid. It's crazy. I mean, that's why this buzzword is so hot right now, because we've swung this other way of this facade. And I really struggle with that too, because it's, as someone who wears it openly, I mean, I don't share everything, but there's no, you don't gain anything from having this.
It's really exhausting. And totally. What it boils down to is you will end up hating yourself. That's it. How could you love? Because you don't know yourself. So you don't really know the person behind the mask. So you're a stranger to yourself. That is the worst feeling in the world, is to be alone and not want to be alone because you don't even know who you're in the room with. That's not a good place to be. I've been there before. So
I was going to ask, it sounds like that. Yeah. You've been there.
Yeah.
And I'm curious about the storytelling and the business part, because again, your business is very based around storytelling. And is that okay? And then finding your own voice and everything else. Is that something that you started recently? Let's say like 3 years-ish ago, you really came into that?
Storytelling has been the foundation of my business. In high school, I won best storyteller, by the way. I wanted best hair, but Audra Leone got it instead. That was my best friend in hite school. So I won biggest storyteller. I've been storytelling since I was 28 years old. Because I worked with one of my mentors was one of the best storytellers out there, is Lisa Nichols, who was in the movie The Secret. You might know her. She's been on Oprah. She's one of the most phenomenal storytellers. She gave me permission to start sharing my story. There were so many things I was ashamed of, having bipolar disorder, growing up in an Indian family, not feeling good enough, all these. And she gave me permission to take people on my journey with me. So I've always just taken people on my journey. When I got out of rehab the first time, people knew. No one knew when I went into rehab, because I didn't have access to technology. All my phones and everything were taken away. But when I was in a state rehab center. When I got out, I let everyone know. So, for me, my life has always been, I go through something, and then I let other people know, hey, I've been through something. I can help you if you've been through it. I'm in a place now. So I want to answer your original question. Storytelling has been from day one, right? Because that's how I connect with my audience. I'm not going to just sit here and tell you, do this, do this, do this. Oh, take this advice from me. I know everything. It's like, no, why should you listen to a word I say if you don't know anything that I've been through, right? That's how am I credible to you, right? So I can't be so arrogant to think, please take my advice. Oh, because I'm a licensed social worker. I went to an Ivy League college. Who fucking cares? Plenty of people who have Ivy League educations or not, or whatever. What's going to make you respect and connect with what I have to say is me sharing exactly what I've been through, and to hopefully help you see yourself in what I've been through. You don't have to have gone through rehab, but you know what? Maybe it feels like to feel like your whole life feels like it's crumbling. Maybe you never went through, an addiction and being addicted to cocaine, but I'm sure there's a habit that you just could not get rid of and it took control over you, right? So it's not about the content of what you're sharing. That's what I want people to hear. Don't get so lost in the details. If you noticed, I don't go very deep into my addiction story unless the host probes me, right? I always want to give you the 60,000 foot view, because let's not get lost in the details. Does it matter how much cocaine I was using? No, I used enough to get me in rehab, right? So when I teach storytelling to people, I want people to stand on their story, not in their story. There's a big difference when someone's telling their story and then get all fucking emotional and you're like, you're still in it. You still have not healed from it. And then you feel ashamed that you haven't been able to process these emotions. And I said, give yourself time to heal before you start putting your life on blast. Do not performatively share your story. You can tell when it's performative. You can tell when you just want to tell something to shock people. You can tell when it's like, oh, I've been through this. I've learned this and I want to share. You get to choose who you want to be when you share your story. You want to be a drama queen and share your story? Go ahead. There's some people that love it. Kardashians do it all the time, right? You can be that kind of storyteller if you want. You can choose to be whoever you want to be. There's no right way to do it. I've been the drama queen. I've been the oversharer. I've been the, let me tell you about my Scarface lines of cocaine so I can shock you. I'm not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here for your entertainment. I'm here to teach you. I'm here to share my wisdom and keep it moving. If I can help you, great. If not, I hope you enjoyed this interview. Yeah. That's how I approach storytelling.
That's great. A recent client had been told, and she's almost 60, and she's showing up on Instagram for the first time. She's also a clinical therapist and meditation teacher. She's never shared any of her story and was told it's not about you. Your content has nothing to do with you. It's about your audience. So while that is true, we are now working on her story, because otherwise her work has no depth or context and that relatability. So I really love what you said, just standing on your story rather than in it, because that's,
if you're not ready
powerful.
To share something, you're not ready to share. Just be honest. You don't have to share anything. It's your life. There are some things I do not share. I've been more vocal. If you listen to more Say It Out Loud podcasts, but I don't share it's nobody's business. It's like, and it's like, listen, before I share any story, I ask, how is this relevant? How do we tie it into the main thing? What's the main thing, boss? You help women communicate with more confidence. Is the story going to bring that message home? Yes or no? No, don't crash it. That's it. I keep it simple. Is this going to help someone with their mental health who's maybe dealing with anxiety, bipolar? Yes, it will. Great. Share it. So I know my content pillars. I know the things that I focus on. Do I ever stray? Of course, I'm allowed to do whatever I want. There are no rules, people. I can do whatever I want, right? That's what it is. If I want to talk about getting naked, if that was one of my podcast episodes, if I want to talk about getting naked, I can talk about getting naked. I can talk about whatever I want. You can talk about whatever you want, period. Go do it. That's it. But this is where people need help, which is why it's great that they have people like you, people like me. I help you actually finesse it. So you're not just verbally masturbating all over people. No one wants your story jizzed all over them. Let's be real. You don't need to jerk off to people. No, for real though. A lot of women who have not been given the space, and men too, who have not been given the space to share their story, will often verbally vomit. They will when they're trying to tell their story. And it's like, no, I mean, on an interview, it's like a back and forth and you want the audience to get to know you. But if you have not been in the habit of sharing your story and really having that dialogue with yourself and others, of course, getting on camera and talking about your story is going to feel overwhelming. So you need to get in the habit of talking about yourself. It is not self-indulgent to talk about yourself. Okay. When you talk about yourself, you relate it back to your audience. You are now sharing golden tips. You're sharing those key nuggets with them, right? It's not self-indulgent. And I feel bad when people come to me and say that, because I can tell, that you probably grew up in a home where no one actually ever sat and talked to you about you, right? Or when you cried, you were told to go to your room. So I feel deeply for people who feel bad or ashamed of sharing their story, because it tells me you probably didn't have a lot of people who sat down and talked to you about you.
Yeah, that's interesting. And these days with putting ourselves out there, it is a whole new breed of people that would never be in such a public, forum, I guess. And so I think that brings up a lot of our shit, obviously. Deep, rooted. So what would be your best, a couple pieces of advice? Someone who's like, I have a message, and the camera brings up a lot of fear for people.
If you think about it, you're looking directly at yourself, right? So this is why I have my clients do mirror work. If you can't look at your own self in the mirror, of course, just looking at yourself on camera when you're talking to the camera, it feels weird. So look in the mirror. If you don't like your reflection in the mirror, you're not going to like your reflection on camera. I love looking at myself in the mirror. Love it. I love being on camera. I could do it like a 45-minute IG live, which I will never do again, but I can just sit at myself and just watch myself talk and generate energy just looking at myself. How many people can do that? No, because we're waiting for other people to give us that energy. No, you can create your own energy and cultivate that, generate that energy from within. So first piece of advice is look in the mirror every single day. Second piece of advice is to talk to yourself when you look in the mirror every single day. And third is to talk out loud to yourself and notice how unkind you're being, where you're being kind, what areas are you being nice to yourself? And I stand in front of the mirror naked every day, right before I get into the shower, and I talk to myself. I look to see where my mind is at. Oh, am I talking about the cellulite? Am I talking about the bottom belly roll that I have? Am I commenting on that one little hair that just keeps growing out of my nipple? Where is my eye going to right now? What am I actually looking at? So it for me, standing in front of the mirror it helps me gauge my relationship to myself, my relationship to my body, which directly affects my confidence, right? So I would talk to yourself in front of the mirror naked every single day and just start paying attention out loud and notice the dialogue and talk to yourself. There are different parts to yourself. You have different voices inside of you. I know I sound crazy, but if you haven't tried it, you won't understand, So it's like when I look in the mirror, I'll be like, you have really nice shoulders, right? And then I'll have another voice that says, yeah, but you've really got to lower that. You really got to, reduce weight in your belly, or, you've gotten a little fat in your hips. Exactly something I would say to myself. You've gotten a little fat. And then another voice will say, why do you talk to yourself that way? Right. So we have these voices in our head and if you don't have those voices, I would love for you to actually start paying attention, because every single one of us has those voices. If you don't, that's a problem. If you cannot hear those voices, those different parts of you, that I actually think is an issue that can be worked on, that will actually help you integrate more of yourself. More of yourself, because there is a kind part of you. There is such an accepting part of you. There is a part of you that's highly critical and talking about your belly rolls. That's my mother's voice right there. My mother wouldn't even, change in front of us. She would always be very shy of her body. First thing she would always say to me is, you've gained weight. You got to lose weight. That's my mother's voice. I have a very accepting voice in my head. That's my dad's voice. Then there's another voice that's just Vasavi's. That's like, Vas, if you don't like the way you look, what do you got to work on? Maybe you got to cut your calories a little bit, girl. Maybe you got to stop eating deep dish pizza every week, right? I have a very honest dialogue with myself. Don't judge my dialogue, right? That's the thing. Look at your own dialogue. Look at the dialogue you have. You're probably just as mean to yourself, if not meaner. I'm just a mirror. I just say it out loud for you to hear.
Yes.
I'm just the one that we're all thinking it. I just say it out loud, Yeah. So look in the mirror, talk out loud, talk to yourself, have conversations with yourself out loud. It will fundamentally make a difference in how you show up.
Yeah. And journaling is a big recommendation for people. So I think take the journal and start saying it out loud.
I love the journal. I also think that from our mind to the pen to the paper, a lot of stuff gets distorted. I think when we use our voice, because that's what are women's biggest challenges is, I need to use my voice. I need to find my voice. It's like, okay, guess what? You can talk to yourself out loud anywhere you are. That's the thing. My book that's coming out, every single exercise is a say it out loud exercise. There's only one exercise where I require a piece of paper, because I want everyone to know you have the thoughts in your head. If you say them out loud, you can actually gauge where you're at and you can start talking to yourself. Because when you learn how to talk to yourself, you can get yourself through any situation. First of all, you'll stop staying in toxic relationships, people who treat you like shit. Because if you don't talk to yourself like shit, you're not going to put up with it from anyone else. Number two, when you're going through an issue or a struggle or a challenge in your life, you can use those different voices in your head to help guide you towards where you want to go, just like you used to do when you were a child. It's helpful for higher cognitive functioning, is to actually start to talk and say those things out loud. So try putting that into practice and see, let me know how it goes.
I can't wait. Yeah. I notice a lot. I laugh at myself more and more. Maybe with age, I'm just
be ridiculus. Yeah.
It's funny.
Be ridiculous. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. This is good. Very good stuff.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. So, okay. What are you most proud of?
Oh, I love this question, Willow. What am I most proud of? I'm most proud of the fact that once I make a decision, it's impenetrable. I love that about myself. It takes a while. I'm a thorough learner. I have to look at I got to feel all the feelings. I got to have all the conversation. Once I finally decide, it's like nothing. I love that about myself. I'm a Taurus. I'm a Taurus sun, Aries moon, Sag rising. I'm very loyal to my habits, even if it's bad for me. It took me 4 years to finally get off cocaine, right? But even if it's bad
commit.
for me, I commit. Oh my God, even if it's a toxic relationship, but I'm committed to the toxicity. No, yeah, my God, kill me. But no, I love the fact that when I make a decision, I'm like, nothing can stop me. I'm unstoppable. Yeah, I love that. I love that about myself so much. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for sharing. And what are you most looking forward to right now?
Right now, let's see what I got some good stuff going on. I'm going to be on the cover of a magazine here in Austin, Texas, Austin Women Magazine. Very excited. That's coming out in May, my birthday month. I'm excited about like what will be brought into my life now that I'm looking for a man and having a baby. Like what could, I've never said that. Like it's a whole different, like my ovaries, like I might as well just be like, I just have rainbows shooting out of my vagina. It's like, come impregnate me. I'm ready. I'm not ready yet. I got a few things that I'm working on to sort myself out internally. There's a few things, there's an order in which I'm doing. I know that, every time you make a plan, God laughs. But I can pretend that I have a little bit of power in my life right now. So I'm very excited about what's going to come into my life with this new, like, man, I really, this idea of a family, like, wow, I can create my own family. I've never thought this way before. So I'm excited to see what's going to come into my life. I'm
excited for you. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're
just staring at each other. Oh, thank you. Oh my God. Yeah. Thank you you should be my publicist. Yeah. And my book, I do have a book coming out spring of 2023. It's called Say It Out Loud, Using the Power of Your Voice to Hear Your Deepest Thoughts and Courageously Pursue Your Dreams. I would love to like talk to Hoda on, and help her say it out loud. I've had a lot of visions of like being able to talk to, like help somebody actually say it out loud. How do we let's actually say it out loud. Right? Say it out loud. Whatever it is, everything in your life that you're struggling with can be resolved when you say it out loud. I fundamentally believe that as someone who's been in therapy since she was 12 years old, everything in my life has been a result of two things: getting quiet and then saying it out loud. But I always say it out loud to myself in private. Right. So I have a relationship with myself out loud in behind closed doors. So I'm really excited about the book, even just talking about it. Like, it's great. I forgot. I'm writing a whole book about it. I'm in it right now. So I'm like, oh my God, saying it out loud. I don't give a shit. Quiet. No, I'm in the middle of writing the manuscript. I got like 20,000 words left to write, but we're good.
Yeah.
We're going to get there. It's due in June, the manuscript. Okay. So anyway, just got anxious thinking about that. Okay. So we're not going to talk about the book, but I'm very excited about the books. I love the podcast. I'm excited. I know God has a lot in store for me. I'm open to it.
Yeah.
There's this great quote that I think we're ending soon this interview, but I would like to say one of my favorite quotes. Yeah, one of my favorite quotes is by Joseph Campbell. And he says, the gods will give you everything you want. You just need to be ready for it. So I wasn't ready for it. It's okay. You don't have to be ready for everything. You got to get ready for the thing that God is going to give you. So it's like, there's never been a timeline. I don't believe in timelines. I don't. I'm just thinking about family, obviously, because I'm turning 40. Let's be real. I'm not going to try to be some like scientific case of like, look, she had a kid at 50. No, I'm not trying to do that to myself. But if I've ever thought about having a kid, this is the time for me to actually start being intentional and thinking about it, So I'm excited.
Yeah.
God is good. I got no complaints.
Definitely.
It's been a great conversation. Appreciate you.
Thank you. I'm energized, truly. And how can people find you? Because you have a lot of stuff out there, and I highly recommend people binge your podcast.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. So the Say It Out Loud podcast is definitely where you can hear me every week. It's, I used to batch record all my content, but all my content that you see on my podcast is in real time. So like I record it literally 2 days before you hear it. So it's very fresh. It's not like something that happened 5 months ago. It's very in the moment. So Say It Out Loud podcast. You can always book a 3-hour. I do 3-hour VIP sessions with people. You could come to Austin and hang out with me. We do a weekend retreat here. It's so much fun. And you can also find me on Instagram at my name is Vasavi. So yeah. And my website is vasavikumar.com. All the info I'm sure you'll put.
Yes, I will.
Yeah.
I want to hang out with you in Austin. That sounds fun.
Okay. So wait, I just want to let everyone know. Oh my God, this is the perfect example of integrating all parts. Everyone hear this. This is actually important. So Willow, I usually do like one-on-one calls with people, and I'll do like, these Zoom calls, we'll go through your shit, whatever. I was like, man, I don't want to do this. Like, I still offer that to people, but I've been doing these like luxe retreats where you come for 3 nights and 4 days. And then I put you up at Austin Proper Hotel, which is very bougie. I can only do the bougiest because that's just me. And then the next day we do a full day spa at Miraval and we just play. We do hip hop dance classes. Hip hop is something like I love doing dance classes. So we customize your time, but then we spend one whole day on just business masterminding. We talk about, your communication strategy. What are the things? What's your content going to look like? Who you're going to be in the next year, right? Or the next, I like to work in 4-month increments, by the way. That's just the thing. I have no idea where I'm going to be a year from now, but I can kind of gauge 4 months. So I love that. Yeah, just lots of different ways to really have fun and work with clients is really what I'm after this year. So I hope you come to Austin too. Yeah.
That would be great. Yeah, your energy is infectious.
Thank you. I'm like a disease. I'm like a disease. Well,
I didn't mean that, but
I'm like I'm an illness. I'm giving you my good juju. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I so appreciate you. Just wanted to acknowledge all the things that you have shared and continuing to serve and show up consistently.
Thanks, Willow. I appreciate you. I really do. You were a great host as well. I appreciate how much you were willing to just go there and just, I always want to say this, and you should keep this on the interview if you weren't, because I think people need to really hear, audience needs to hear, like when you're having a dialogue with the host, I've had hosts that just ask me canned questions. And I'm like, you're not listening to anything that I'm saying right now. You're not listening. I'm pouring my whole fucking life out here for you and your audience because I want you to have a great episode. This is my life's work. When I get canned responses from hosts, I want to like end the Zoom call, but I want to just say, but I get through the entire interview and I give it my all because it's not about Vasavi. It's about, I'm a child of God and I'm here to send a message. So I got to get my ego out of the way. Right. I just want to acknowledge you that I've had those kind of interviews. I really appreciated how you probed and you didn't shy away from asking, difficult questions. I think a lot of times hosts want to go deeper and they're afraid because they think they're going to offend the guest. And I always say, come at me with those difficult questions. Why are you so afraid? So I always recommend hosts, anyone listening, if you want to be a better interviewer or a guest, go deep, stop being so shallow and stop being fake. We don't need any more of that.
Yeah. Keep it real.
It's boring. It's boring. And it's boring.
Super boring.
So
thank you for that. That means a lot.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Thank you. Awesome. That brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoy the show, please rate and review on Apple Podcasts. It makes a big difference for visibility. And even better, share this episode with a friend. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode every other Wednesday. If you're interested in working together to elevate your online presence, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out to me on Instagram at whereiswillow. I also hang out on LinkedIn, Willow McDonough. Until then, cheers to carving your own fucking path. I love you.